Alright, so got a new slug idea that just struck me in the middle of the night. I think I'm going to call this one the pin cushion, but can you guess what this mess of crap is? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but yeah. So let me get it all assembled and I'll show you what it does. Alright, so I'm back. Finally got it all set up. If you guessed it was a rotary divider, then you'd be right. Basically, it's a device I made out of an old rotary axis for my China CNC lathe that I have. I use this for my very first slugs, the crapsels that he just shot. Let me pull you off the stand here to kind of pull the stand off the wall. So, I mean, we've got it screwed down to the base. We got her connected down there. We figured out, the right size belt. This used to be a different setup actually. So these switches don't do anything, and right now it just does segments, but there were, updates and shows you what segment you're on. But prior to this, before the last Arduino had a short death, it would just rotate freely, it would do degrees, and it would do segments, and it was all controlled by the switches. I don't got that logic in this yet. I just needed to get it done, and for what I'm doing, it works. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this going. I think I wish this thing would focus a little better when I'm moving it around, but I think I have this about where I want it on the slug. And I've got my depth stop set. So let me put you guys back up here. Adjust you a bit. And we're gonna see what happens together here. This is a number 32 drill. This one's brand new. I got a box of these. Mostly because when I was drilling through like that titanium and stuff, it just gobbled these things up. Alright, there's my bottom. So I hit my button and go on to the next hole. Oh yeah, I'm doing 6, by the way. That's what I have it set to. Alright, hit the bottom. Let me try to quickly this drill bit off a bit. Blow some air. Turn that on, blow some air. Alright, we're good. I mean, I could lube it up. I just don't know that it's necessary when drilling into aluminum. That'll just mean that I have to clean it later, but I guess that's not end of the world. Where'd I put my anchor lube? We'll try this one with a little bit of lube. Maybe it'll help shred some. I don't know that it's any better. Can't be any worse. And then we hit the bottom. Let's just blow this with air. Ha! That's better. Alright, next. Hopefully you guys aren't seeing my arm too much. Trying to avoid that if all possible. Come on, go in your hole. So for these rounds already, I've already just laid them down to size. They're a little bit on the oversized. I learned my lesson. And since these are aluminum, they should have no issue you know, with the Sabo and working with the rifled bore. It should grab on nice and tight. Alright. Tear. Hey, come on. Jerk. Alright, let's rotate this. Rotating it probably would have pulled that off. Yeah, I don't really know that the anchor loop's doing anything. Okay, hit stop. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I can actually keep blowing this stuff because, like, the Arduino and all the circuitry is just straight up exposed. I don't have a lid for it. Never made one. Yeah, I'm gonna, after this haul, I will move that thing around so none of these chips land on it, short it out. I don't need to build another one of these. Alright, at the bottom, shut that off. See if I can just, no, I can't really rotate it because of the way the plugs are. That's irritating. Big red cloth will keep the chips off, mostly. That'll work. Alright, cool. Blow this off real quick. Yeah, that didn't work. So, if I go around one more time, we're right back at 0, and it goes right in. So, pretty sweet. Actually, I don't want to say I'm proud of this, but I'm kind of proud of it. Medium proud. Just encountered an issue I didn't expect. Alright. I'll have to lower this down a bit. Alright, I'll just set everything back up again. Alright, that's as low as the table will go. Let me turn off this stop real quick. Get this back where I want it. Everything's moved now. That's pretty close. Let me clamp this again. Because I need to be able to get these out. See, I'm not the smartest guy. Alright, cool. So, let's set the new stop then. Alright, so now, let's keep losing this chuck. Pull this out. There we go. Now I have the room. So, I don't know if you can see, but got nice 6 even holes. Let's pop the next one in. And for some reason there's like a stop in the bottom of this chuck, so I'm just going to line them all up with that. I'm just barely putting any pressure on them. It's not like anything's going crazy here. Alright, so I'm just going to hit go on it real quick. I guess I should figure out if my pin fits in these, or as long as it's close is all I need. Hopefully I've drilled it a little bit undersized. Huh. That's It's not very undersized. I think that depth is right, though. Get the one I've done already. Where did I put it? Yeah, the depth's good. Just... if I remember correctly, I think these drill bits were actually a little bigger than number 32s. I wonder if I want to try a 31. Or a 34. I wish I had a 33. Probably the exact size I'm looking for. What are you guys? Oh, that's a 2mm. Now you guys just get to listen to me struggle. I try to find a... Okay. Well, maybe this is my number 32. It's just a wee bit smaller than what I'm using. Alright. Let me see if I can switch it. Because ideally, I would like these to be a bit more of a press fit, so I don't have to rely on the Loctite. What should I do? Does this have a marking on it? There's a marking, I just can't read it. I think that says 3.2mm. Alright, so I gotta set my depth again. Hole's clear. Loosen my lock. Alright. Let me put this number 32 back. Progress it forward. Alright, hit the bottom. Let's pull it off. Let's go ahead and advance to the next one. That is a tighter fit. I don't know if it's too tight now. It's probably okay. I'm going to drill the rest of these this size, and I'm going to see when this one's done if I can just lightly pound it in. This one sure doesn't like to give up the Alright, we'll try anchor loop on this next one. This bit does not like... Wonder if the speed's too high. It probably is. Alright, we'll try anchor loop on this last one and see if it clears up at the end any better. Right. Okay. Fine, I think I have to use it. That's fine. Alright. Let's pull this guy out. They just don't look as deep as the other ones. There they are, though. Weird. That's trippy. Alright, let's get my little hammer here. And if it'll go in just a little bit, I know these will work, because they're not going to need to go all the way down these holes. I don't like that. No, no. Too small. Too small, too small, too small. Alright, well, maybe I'm just going to use that 32, and I'll just use red Loctite. Green Loctite, that'll work. Alright, so it was at this point that I lost audio. This DJI mic, I don't know which one this is, but doesn't work worth a shit on the iPhone. It just decides it's going to stop recording audio. So yeah, so what we've got here is the compound. I put it back on my lathe, and I quickly decided that, you know, I didn't like manually turning that. So I got creative. It's a real men of genius moment here. Real men of genius. But I basically just shoved a piece of brass bar stock into my mill, centered it, drilled a hole in it, tapped it, put a bolt in the drill, and basically got myself an automated thing. I was originally holding the drill while I was doing it, and that quickly turned into crap. So, I mean, you can see a parallel there. I've got a fractal vise, a bunch of zip ties. I mean, that's solid. Not 100% sure what I'm showing you here, but I think it's the genius of what I got going there. Oh yeah, and a C-clamp to kind of hold it in place there. So what we've got here is basically just the process of cutting the angle on there. I've got this sped up, but you can see the drill doing magical drill things and the lathe doing lathe things, and then I got a little too aggressive. You kind of saw it push the tool around. Learned how much it would take and how much it wouldn't take. So just kind of just going down until I get a spot where I'm kind of happy with the point. Most of these actually ended up the same. There was no measuring on my part. This was all just visual. Basically what I think looked good. So this is probably, I think, my final pass back, since I did slow the video down here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's doing things, slowing down. Alright. So, checking, seeing how it feels. Loosening the chuck. Moving that out of the way, because, you know, it was in the way. And fighting to figure out where the camera is, and of course it not focusing. But there we go. You can see the, you know, the holes. You can kind of get an idea of what I'm going for at this point. Apparently this is the second one that I did. Oh yeah, the first one the video stopped recording. I remember now. So yeah, so we're done with that part. Alright, so after I was done with the lathe work, I test fit the pins in there and realized that I didn't drill those holes long enough, deep enough. So I spent a bunch of time getting this all set back up again so I would be able to drill these holes down, I think about another 3 to 4 millimeter. Figured out the best way to put the slug in there and get the drill bit lined up, clamp it all down, and then test things, and it worked out much better. Alright, so we're back on the lathe again. Let's see what we're doing this time. Oh, okay. It looks like I'm trying to remove all the burrs, the rounded over metal from when I did all the lathe work to create that cone. I'm trying different methods, trying to get this to work better. You know, you see me try all sorts of everything. Sandpaper, the drill with a brass brush on it, had the red Scotch-Brite back. You know, I think I found something that worked, a method that worked, and now I know that I got these assembled later. It did end up working. So, that's what we were doing there. Alright, so it looks like we're on the lathe again. What are we doing now? Oh, smoothing things out. Ah, first round of polishing right there. Oh, yep. And I learned that if I use that piece of metal and just kind of tap it when it's got the speed wobbles, I can actually get it really center before I clamp it down. It's a lot easier than trying to reset it sometimes and figure out why it's wobbling. But yeah, basically the process here looks like I was using sandpaper, or emery cloth is what I started with. Switched to, what is that, 1000 grit and then 1500 grit, I think. But yeah. Alright, so we're back on the lathe again. Looks like this is in a sleeve now that I made, a plastic sleeve, so I could do the liquid metal polish here and not have to clamp on the actual, you know, slug itself. So yeah, I just put it in there, did the back side, flipped it around, did the front side. You can't really tell, but it actually made it a lot better looking. And yeah, my fingers are in danger. Alright, so we're off the lathe now. I went ahead and ran these in the ultrasonic. They ended up rubbing against each other, knocking off the nice polish that they had, so you can kind of show in here how they're scuffed up a bit, but I didn't care enough to repolish them. They're just going to get squished anyways. So at this point, they're all cleaned of all the polish and debris, so I'm going to get these all primered up with the anaerobic primer so I can, you know, use the green Loctite and get the other pins in. The anaerobic primer I used is the Loctite. It flashes up. There we go. Clean and prime. That stuff works amazing. I learned of this stuff when I was doing the onboard air on my Lexus a few years ago. It worked great. So basically I'm just going to get all this, you know, pumped in all these holes, let the stuff cure and dry, clean it off with a microfiber and acetone so it doesn't stain the rest of it, and put the pins in.
Mop, 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 all day long. Mop, 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 while I sing the song. Gonna wax that floor, gonna make it shine. Gonna take off the spray paint with turpentine.
Alright, so at this point we're at final assembly. Right now I'm just going through, making sure that the pins are actually going to fit, not run into any issues. Also, I'm, you know, filling all of them up just to make sure I have enough pins. So I kind of just see me going through all that. You know, making sure there was a few of them that did have to slightly, you know, nudge with the hammer in there. So it was somewhere right around this point. Finish this one. Alright, this is this point where I realized that I didn't have enough of the 27mm pins I was using, so I think these ones, yeah, are 18mm. I put some in, decided I didn't want to have too many variables on these slugs, so I ended up just ordering some more 27mm pins, but we're going to go ahead and just, you know, finish assembling these. Put a little bit of the green sauce in a soup cup lid, and you can see me just dipping them in there, putting them in, dipping them in there, putting them in. This is pretty much final assembly for these. I did engrave them, change the name to PINdejo, which I think is way better than Pincushion or whatever I said at the beginning of the video. PINdejo just seemed way better. 3D printed a case, you know, put them in there. Really, that was about it. You know, I don't need to, show you using a laser. That's dumb. Or, you know, my 3D printer doing 3D printer things. It's super simple. Just this case is a triangle this time instead of the square that I made last time. But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the making of this thing, and hopefully we'll see some interesting results when and if it gets shot.